Well, hey YouTubers, I'm back with 60 books in isolation, and it is London Folktales, right, by Helen East. Here you go, London Folktales. Right, so here we go. London Folktales. God, I miss London so much. Well, actually, I'm in London. I'm a West Londoner. I'm Greater London. I'm Middlesex. I'm the London Borough of Middlesex. But I live just 14 miles to Paddington, and literally, I just want to go into London. Or I could just walk down, okay? Just walk down. I could walk one straight line, okay, and be at Westfield. You know that's closed. I miss London. I miss my city. When I get back, when it opens up again, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get one of those open top tourist buses. I've not actually done those before because we don't do those. I'm actually going to get an open top tourist bus. Okay? But London Folktales, this is interesting for me because I didn't really know any London Folktales. I mean, we've got enough ghosts. London's got enough ghosts, trust me on that. So, you know, there's a lot of ghosts in London. There are examples where there's Hampton Court. That counts as London, but anyway, so Hampton Court, okay. There's Windsor Castle's got a couple. Heathrow's got a couple. I've got several ghosts at Heathrow. So, but folk tales. I never would imagine folk tales of London. Here you go, folk stories. Here you go. And read the blurb. London is a world unto itself, an outrageous, quirky and diverse microcosm where all walks of life cross paths, the languages jostle and mingling, and there are tales whichever way you turn. Remembered and nearly spun, told and written, cut, carved and sung. The 30 of the best, drawn from oral history and newly recorded local reminiscences, as well as folk sources and written texts, have been brought to life by a mistress of storytelling. Here you'll find Dick Whittington alongside the patron saint of cobblers, a royal rat rubbing shoulders with the maiden Comber, and fish that decide destinies. Visit old friends and discover new ones in this wonderful selection of London folk tales, as light and dark and as full of unexpected twists of the streets of London itself. Oh, I love that. And this is such a really good book. Now, the thing is, Helen East is, she's a professional storyteller, okay? And that really kind of comes across in this book, comes across in this book. There's a kind of lyricalness to it. This is a book that's kind of written to be read aloud. You can imagine, now, back then, now this also reminded me of, during, like, the 17th century, okay, people used to go to coffee houses. Not just to drink coffee, because that's where they're kind of coming in, okay? They used to go to these coffee houses, okay, for people to read stories. Now, a good example of this is, so just on my metal field foot, Robinson Crusoe. Now, if you ever read Robinson Crusoe, which is called the first English novel, one of the first English novels, it's not. A big example is Alfred Bear's love letters to a gentleman to her sister-in-law, okay, right? But if you've ever read Robinson Crusoe, which I have done, a lot of it repeats itself, okay? Because Robinson Crusoe was written in a way to be read aloud. So there's a lot of going back on it to kind of remind the audience of what had gone before. As I said before, people went to these houses to stand up and talk, okay? And this reminded me of that. There's a lot of lyrical poetry within this text. And a lot of it is, obviously, it's folk tales, and there's a kind of an issue to what's real or not, as for the folk stories. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is the way it opens. This is chapter 1, Albus de Brutus. Before, when the world was raw and all things elemental, the earth gave birth to many monstrous creatures. Amongst them was a race of giants. It is from them, some people say, that mankind came. Be that as it may, the giants fitted in as best as they could. A few grew taller, some smaller, they bred, and it's as natural as they spread. Some settled and some claimed the land, while some battled and renamed the land. Some borders changed and yet old names remained. Europe was one. Do you hear the lyrical poetry in this book? I loved it. And it's the idea, okay, that essentially Albion is basically a bunch of giants. Okay, so I'm not going to go into this chapter, okay, but that's the way it opens. You can capture the lyrical poetry of this. The lyrical poetry, okay? And this book, because this is 30 stories, and it's not a long book, okay? It's about 190 pages, okay? 190 pages. But each one, it kind of doesn't waste words. It kind of builds a map to the scene. This bit here, okay? This is when, well, there's two pronunciations, Boudica and Boadicea, okay? Now, she's written it as Boudica. That's fine. Here we go. This is when Boudica takes Camelodium or Colchester of today, okay? pronounce that correctly. London's easy. Londonminium, London. Okay, they didn't really get renamed differently, did it? The inhabitants were caught by surprise. Most of them were retired Roman soldiers who must have turned to fat and whose heroic exploits attended to stories. Some were sitting in warm taverns, the click of knucklebones here, the chink of a marble there. Others were strolling to the bars of temples, but the swishes of the roads were silenced by the cries that raised their hairs and their scarred arms. There's no time to reach for their rusty weapons. They were cut, crucified, hanged, and hacked, as the statues crushed down around them with their temples, arenas and squares, and Boudicca's warcloth smothered them with its black and red threads. I spit on your emperor, God, cursed Boudica. Under this stone are the bones of the Tavonius, our people. And I probably have mispronounced that. Your stones have silenced the gods of earth, air, and water. The only voice left is fire. The city was torched. You hear the lyricism in that. I love this. I love this. But when it comes to London, now obviously, this is setting up the scene for London. I mean, everyone knows about Boudica, the Queen of the Iceni, which was up north. And then after her husband died, the Romans whipped her, raped her daughters, and she literally picked herself up from the debris and began an army. Okay, she was cool. And apparently she's buried under King's Cross Station. Okay, right. Let's be here about Londonminium, my beloved city. Londonminium was in its infancy, then approximately 30 acres of the north side of the river, spread across rising ground above a white hillock. Although it had its fair share of solid traders of fresh produce, skins and ironware, most of its inhabitants were more like bankers, dealing with virtual exchanges, and living in timber-framed houses with thatched roofs, wooden floors, and fine furniture, and sporting Mediterranean-coloured glass and Samian pottery. As cellars were stocked with notable wines, and when they were not passing gold from palm to palm, and spent their days talking, listening to music, and discussing poetry and art. Capturing that moment. Just capturing. Now, obviously, this is going back through history, so it starts off with like prehistory, the mythology, and it goes into Roman times, and things from there. So it's basically, you know, prehistory, if you will, the early settlers, then the Roman, medieval, modernity, on and on and on. Okay? On and on and on. Sorry, just snip it back. Here we go. Let's be here about London Bridge. Now, I know a bit about London Bridge, because of course London Bridge, not the original London Bridge, but the Romans actually had a London Bridge. They actually found remains of it when they were doing, literally, pretty much in the same spot as London Bridge now. There's always been a bridge, a London Bridge. One side of the, from the South Bank to the embankment. And Parliament and everything else. Oh, God, we'll come back to tea. You'll walk the South Bank soon. Yeah. Right. But even the Romans, experts in construction, must surely have underestimated the power of the Thames Tide, or perhaps they were relying on a way to strengthen the bridge. They needed a bit of spirit, you might call it. In time-honored fashion, that was done by choosing a living creature and burying it within the structure, thereby ensuring that the ghost of essence would always remain there to protect it. It might involve an animal, particularly a black dog, or sometimes a child, or sometimes a woman. It was that they say who was elected to watch over London Bridge. My Fair Lady. Oh my God, everyone knows that the London Bridge is falling down. Okay, and it's actually based on an earlier song before it was written now. No one knows the etymology of London Bridge. It's one of them songs, okay? But it brings up the idea that what if the My Fair Lady of London Bridge was a human sacrifice? Because in my mind blown, I didn't know that. I never would have thought of that. See what I mean? Right. Then obviously it goes obviously to the Norman times as well. Evolution as a book, okay? And this was about William the First, okay, or William the Bastard of Normandy, okay. And yes, so he became William the Conqueror. So this bit here, okay. And basically, William the First, William the Conqueror. He found London unsettled. He found the London as unsettled. He didn't like the fact that London was full of free men with opinions, free men who didn't have to fall at his feet. I like this bit here, okay? Under the Norman eye, the woman's clothing and social position became less loose and more constrained, and closer fit and emphasised the female shape of feminine spirit. Several Saxon ladies, including wives of Harold's knights, were obliged to take up needles and stitch the normal tale of victory at Hastings. A story was embroidered, enhancing the conqueror's glory. So his chronicle became a new song sung, the history that was passed on. But still red-headed William dared not sleep. London above all made him uneasy. It was such a complex mix of races, rules and rights, especially freemen of the city who paid taxes to the king. Yet even an apprentice could hope to become one of them. Yet these were the powerful citizens who had made William king, and possibly one might try one day to unmake him again. V for Vendetta, government should be, people should favour their governments, government should be favour their people. Set in stone back in William's time. People who made you king can take that away from you, really. Which, if you think about it, let's go to the Reformation and look at Oliver Cromwell. So, there you go. And this bit here I had to do some research on as well, because it's basically the story of Thomas à Becket's parents. Now, this I actually looked it up as a Wikipedia Thomas à Becket. It's not true. It's a folk story. Essentially, Thomas à Becket's father, Gilbert, went away to Jerusalem, went to the Holy Land, and due to the fact, joined the Crusades, but as he was a rich man's son, he was captured, but he was set up in his fantastic palace, and he fell in love with the daughter, as you do, the Emir. Fell in love with the Emir's daughter, and they fell in love, but they were separated, and they took a coin, and they separated the coin, and eventually they crossed, they went through heaven and hell to get reunited. They're reunited back in London, okay? Now, I've done some research on this story, just by looking at Wikipedia. Not true. Good story, though. Good story. But no, St. Thomas à Becket was not a product of a princess and a rich man, or Amir's daughter, and a trader, businessman. Well, a businessman's probably true. I think his mother was French, okay? And then it goes on, obviously goes to the chimney sweeps of the time. And this bit here, now this story I just loved, okay? It's called Lucky Sweep, chapter 20, okay? Miss Montague was one of these ladies envied by a whole circle of acquaintances. Seemed to have everything one could require in life, a wealthy pleasant husband, and a fat little boy, a splendid house on the corner of Portman Square, and the health and leisure to enjoy it all. Some of them was 5 years old, and dear little thing, although full of high spirits and boyish energy. Luckily, he had a nurse who was well used to dealing with children and seeing the ideal choice for her position. Unfortunately, she had one or two failings which she kept hidden. First was a most unsuitable man friend who she would meet out, but who had, of course, never been to the house. And second, possibly even worse, was occasional taste of the bottle. Now, the child is lost at the Frost Fair, okay, and they search for him, never find him, and then years later, a chimney sweep comes to the house to clean, okay, and the young apprentice turns out to be their missing son. Here you go. Which I just thought was a nice story, even though it's, I don't know the validity in that, but it's just a nice story. And it's also okay about how a fish kind of brought a couple together due to prophecy, and I generally did enjoy this book. It was just a nice lyrical story. I was surprised by it, but the language as well. I mean, Dick Whittington's in there too, but everyone knows that. Dick Whittington, Fly Smell London with the cat. Yes, we know about that. So, I liked this book. I just liked the lyricism of this book. And Helen East is a really, really good writer. So, sign up for YouTubers. It makes you love your city a little bit more. And I miss my city so much. London, I can't go into London. I'm not going to London independently since I was 13 years old. I used to skip the train and just go and explore by myself, just walk the streets. So, anyway, I'm signing off here, YouTubers. Loves to you all. Mwah.